Hey everybody, and welcome to The Year Was, a podcast all about today. I'm your host Michael Montalvo, and together we take the history train back in time once again to discover what makes today truly unique. For the next few minutes, we continue to gather random nuggets of trivia to make you sound smart, or just drop that little fact that makes others stop and say, hey, who invited you? Like seriously, why are you here? On this episode, we examine the events that occurred today, April 17th. The year was 1970, and on this day, Apollo 13 returned safely to Earth, bringing home astronauts Jim Lovell, Fred Hayes, and Jack Swigert. After having launched on April 11th, it was only 2 days into its mission that oxygen tank number 2 blew, leading to NASA receiving a report that no one wanted to hear. Houston, we've had a problem. The mission was aborted, and it was learned that oxygen, electricity, light, and water supply was disrupted, and this caused everyone to have to come up with an emergency procedure. They needed to develop a solution for the problems such as stabilization, air supply, navigation, and getting enough power to its damaged fuel cells, which were needed for re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere. It was through the efforts of all involved that Apollo 13 was able to safely return to Earth, splashing down in the Pacific Ocean, with all 3 astronauts alive. Now obviously they've made a movie about this, and there are countless books talking about Apollo 13, but this isn't the only example of triumph associated with this day. The year was 1964, and on this day, Geraldine Mock became the first woman to fly solo around the world. She began flying at the age of 5 and was actually one of the first female aeronautical engineering students at Ohio State University. Although she had 750 hours of flight time, she hadn't really flown over any water and didn't have any experience with it. It was after visiting Canada with her husband that she sat in a radio room and listened to pilots as they crossed the Atlantic that she thought to herself, well, I've got to fly the ocean. I might as well go all the way around. She began her journey flying a Cessna 180 on the 19th of March, 1964, and after overshooting her first stop, she actually had to turn around in order to land safely. She had problems with the brakes, new ones were supposed to have been installed but weren't, and a radio with detached leads that may have been sabotaged after installation. She feared an in-flight explosion after her long-range antenna motor burned up and mistakenly landed at Inchas, the pronunciation there is probably off, AFB, only to be greeted by armed guards. She suffered bad weather, but she enjoyed the culture changes in food and dress. After 29 and a half days, she landed at the Port Columbus Airport, completing her solo flight around the world. On May 4th, President Lyndon B. Johnson presented her the Federal Aviation Administration's Exception Service Decoration, and she became the first woman and American to receive, and guys, you can't see this, but I typed out a pronunciation guide, FAI's Louis Blériot Silver Medal. She never flew her plane, the Spirit of Columbus, again, and it was eventually acquired by Cessna, who displayed it in their factory until 1976 when they donated it to the National Air and Space Museum. And now for something that's just a little bit fun. He first appeared in a Tex Avery, Bob Clampett short film, Porky's Duck Hunt, in 1937. Daffy Duck is, in a word, hyperactive, and in 2 words, silly. He's remained a staple of Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes, and is a personal favorite of mine for the last 82 years. But it was actually this day, April 17th, in 1937, that the world was first introduced to him. And that's going to do it for us today. You can find me on social media and YouTube at the Apple Cider Club. As always, I want to thank the Tim Kreitz Band for our musical theme, and to thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.